it'll do what I say. There we go. So as we're coming in, I have a mood meter up on the board, and Annie is going to go ahead and put into the chat the instructions of how to mark on here anonymously. It won't tell us who you are, how you are feeling today, so we can take a poll of people as they're coming in. I can't see. I wish I could see everybody. Hi, everybody.
Oh, whoops.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
So as people are coming on, and I'm so glad to see all of you, as people are coming on, we're asking people to check in using this mood meter that is on your screen. And Annie has put in the chat instructions on how to use this. If you go to the top of your screen, hold on, I'm gonna go to the chat. If you go to the top of your screen, and then there's view options, and then there's annotate, and then you'll get an annotation toolbar, and you can click stamp, and then you can stamp on how you are feeling today. You might be feeling good, but after I make you do this, you might be feeling frustrated. So tell us how you're feeling before I made you try out new technology tools. Oh, I see that it's working. I'm gonna make you help. If everyone wants to mute, seems like we have a little bit of feedback. Okay, oh, we have chill, content, cheerful, upbeat, satisfied.
Everybody wore a mask.
Pleasant. Good. Oh, go back. It's so nice to see that everybody's on the positive side of the mood meter today.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I still need this one. Get my.
Are we still waiting for folks to come in, or do we think everybody's here who's coming in? Susie, what do you think?
A lot of people are in.
A lot of people are in?
Not too many. No one's in the waiting room right now.
Okay. Well, I am glad to see everyone today. Hello, my name is Kelly Cohen. For those of you who I haven't met, which is actually really exciting, I am the director of JumpSpark, and I am so glad that you're here to join us today. And I'm so glad to see that everybody is feeling positive as we start this time together. How do we make the annotation go away? No? Okay, well, maybe somebody who's on the Zoom with me can help me.
Yeah, you can clear the annotations at the top of your screen. Like, there should be a button that says clear annotations.
There we go. Okay. So, hello, everyone. I want to thank you for everybody jumping on this call today and sharing your time with us, giving us an hour of your time today to talk about JumpSpark. And I want to acknowledge that so many of you are also JumpSpark parents and come to us because your teen got involved with us first. So we want to thank you for sharing your teens with us. At the top of the slide that I'm showing you, this is the JumpSpark team. There are a lot of us. You will encounter us in different ways. But now you can see everybody who is on the team, and they are all on the call with us today. So as I said, so many of you come to us because your teens got involved. Maybe you have a daughter in the Strong Women's program. But I really wanted to take just a very brief second at the top of the meeting and kind of talk to you about everything that JumpSpark does, because you might just know about us through one very specific angle. So JumpSpark is here for teens, parents of teens, folks like you, and Jewish professionals, some of which we also have on our call today. And we serve all three of those communities to ultimately serve teens. So we know that working with parents and supporting parents of teens supports teens, working with professionals who work with teens supports teens. So we are an innovation initiative of the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta. And we are also a part of the Jewish Teen Funder Collaborative. So you will see on the map of the left, we are part of 10 cities across the country that are working together to raise Jewish teen engagement. And we are the Atlanta kind of contingent of that, housed here in our federation. We do 4 things. We do, as I said before, we do teen education and engagement. We work with teens and do teen programs out in the community, such as our Strong Women's Fellowship. We run a program called Navigating Parenthood, which we're going to talk a little bit more today, where we provide or seek to provide network and resources for parents to raise thriving Jewish teens. We run a community partner network where we bring together 30 teen serving organizations here in Atlanta to work together on raising the bar on teen engagement. And we also give out Spark grants. So we've given out over $700,000 strategically into the teen ecosystem here in Atlanta to both grow new programs and strengthen existing programs. So there are a lot of things that we do in the community, and basically if Jewish teens are involved, we like to be involved there as well. So it's very exciting, kind of the broad nature of what we do. And all of you are coming here today as part of our think tank, as part of our advisory committee, and your role is so essential in the work that we do. So I want to say just briefly kind of what we hope that this meeting will be and what this meeting is not. And I think that in the world of Zoom, in the world of virtual engagement, right, kind of our goals have to shift and we have to really embrace the virtual nature of what we're doing. So this meeting today is really about information sharing. We want you to learn more about what's going on with Jewish teens, both locally and nationally. We want you to hear from our key partners. We're going to have some speakers with us today that are going to share how they're working with us or how they might work with us to really make an impact in the lives of Jewish teens. You all are also our eyes and ears in the community. Nobody knows teens in Atlanta or parents of teens in Atlanta better than all of you. And having you all come together, share your opinions and your feedback and your thoughts with us is incredibly crucial. And finally, we are looking for people to help spread the word about what we're doing. If you are excited about something you hear today, tell your friends, ask how you can get more involved. We're always looking for people to get more involved, and we hope you leave this meeting today excited about the possibilities and excited about what JumpSpark is doing in the community. That was a lot of information I just gave you, but what this meeting is not going to be is kind of a deep getting in the weeds, processing, making big decisions session. Really, we are here to give you some information and hear back from you about what you think about it. So hopefully you will leave this meeting feeling energized and excited, and that this was a meaningful hour of your time. We really hope that that's how you feel, because it's really important to us that you are here. So is Sue's here? I can't see who's here. Okay, great. So Sue is here. So when we initially brought together this think tank and advisory committee, it was to bring parents of teens together to hear, for all of these reasons, to hear from you about what you wanted. And what we learned from parents were you really liked that we were trying to meet the needs of parents in the community, but that a lot of you weren't interested in coming out to workshops at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night, that was hard in your schedule of driving teens around and managing the rest of your life, and that we were doing a good job on topics, and that we needed to think a little bit more about delivery and how we could be getting this information to you to feel supported as parents of teens in the community. So we went out on a hunt trying to figure out what we could do. And I feel like when you kind of put something out into the universe, sometimes you get back what you want. And we were introduced to Sue Borison, who is joining us today. Sue is, go back, trying to move you guys so I can see my own screen. Sue is the founder and editor-publisher of Your Teen magazine. She is joining us here today, and when we went out looking for an expert in the field of parenting and someone who has created an amazing multimedia platform of videos, podcasts, interviews, Sue is really the person. So we have invited Sue here today to share with all of you a little bit about who she is, a little bit about the work that they do, and I'm going to hand it off to Sue now to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the work that she does. Thank you for joining us, Sue.
Sure, I'm thrilled to be here. Before we start, I can talk for a really long time. How much do you want me to talk for?
I'd love for you to talk for about 10 minutes if you want to talk for that long. And then I'd love to, right now I've been doing a lot of talking. I'd love for them to be a chance for some people to ask you questions. So maybe like, let's take 15 minutes for this whole chunk, including question and answer.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Borison. I am the mom of 5. Let me turn off my noises 1 second. I am the mother of 5 who are all out of the house, launched. And when my oldest was starting high school, I really had this feeling like I would say that when they were younger, I had a certain sense of confidence about raising them, and it certainly grew with each child. But when we hit adolescence in my house, I felt so confused because I thought the world was telling me that it was a cumulative skill set, but I wasn't feeling that way at all. I mean, transformed overnight into this like being I didn't understand. And no matter what I was doing or saying, I really wasn't getting the sense that I was doing a great job. And so I kept thinking like I really relied on resources and parents when my kids were young. I loved Parents Magazine. I waited for it to come. It was like snippets of information that would really help me. And I had that play group of moms where we would be vulnerable and share what was going on. And I felt like, well, I just lost all of that. And I don't know what I'm doing. And so, you know, as my kids were getting older, there was a little bit of a sense that I should fill my time with something other than them, which was a really good, healthy thing to do for them. And so I jumped into this idea of like, would other people want a resource now? And it was clear from other parents that I spoke with that everyone was floundering. Everybody was just feeling like, is there a better way to do this? Or do we just pray for them to get out of the house and that we survive that time frame? And that just seemed like a really dismal, depressing way to approach adolescence. And so we started literally as a print magazine. I think we started with 4 issues a year. And that was about 14 years ago. And in those 14 years, we jumped on every platform that became available. We used to call it a jobby. Like, you know, it was a combination of a job and a hobby. And now, you know, it engulfs our entire lives. So I'm going to say it's the leave your 9-to-5 job so that you can have autonomy to spend every second of every day doing what you love. And that's where we are right now. Anyway, what I've learned over the years has transformed my parenting. I often feel like I have to go back to the older kids and say I'm sorry because I really do feel like I'm a much better parent. And it's the kind of like suggestions along the way, some of them small but powerful and some of them grand. But things that like if you know it and you try it and it works, you keep doing it. And it doesn't, the same thing doesn't work for everybody. There's no template or we'd all have it. There's no rule book or we'd all have it. And even just if you have more than one child, you know that each kid responds differently to the information and the way you interact with them. So it is a, you know, we talk about COVID as we're like building the plane as we figure this out, as we fly. And so our expression is always that we're building the bridge as we walk across it. So that's what building this business has been like. That's what raising teenagers has been like. And our mission is always to move to this other idea, which is the sense of isolation and the sense of feeling that you're the only one dealing with some of these things in your own home. It becomes a little hard to share. Like it's pretty easy to talk about your baby's not sleeping, toilet training. Yeah, we can all share that. We don't feel like we're responsible for it. But if you find out your kid's doing weed at 13, where do you turn? Are you willing to tell a friend that story without feeling like you're literally going to be judged? And someone will have that look of like, I saw that coming, right? Like that we all knew your kid was going to do that. And so where do you turn? So our answer to that was to create a world where you could turn to. So we have, one of the things we have that I love is it's a Facebook parenting group. And people feel comfortable to go on there and share a scenario, and they'll get like 50 responses from parents who are saying, me too, this is how I handled it. And I think that's what we're trying to create, a space where we replicate those early years of feeling confident enough in ourselves as a parent to be able to reach out to someone else and know that you're not alone in this. And that's our favorite email. We'll get feedback from people who say, thank you so much for that article, that interview, whatever. I really thought I was the only one dealing with this, which is such a vulnerable, terrible place to live. And then the last thing I wanted to say is that parenting is a very forgiving profession, and apologizing to our kids really works over and over again. Trust me, I've done it many, many times over the years. And so what that can tell you is that we're going to make mistakes all the time. We're not going to be perfect. And creating an environment where we can shed this notion of perfection and really just come forward with the things we're struggling with. Even if it's not something I'm struggling with right now, we set the ground rules that we're just not judging on that. That if it's me today, it's you tomorrow. And having, my oldest is 30, my youngest is 19, having done this for many, many years, I can tell you that nobody escapes tough times. Like the ones who are smugly feeling like they've got it and they nailed it, when we are at our best as parents, it's because we are loving at our best and we are creating safety nets for our kids, but it's not outcomes that we're doing best at. We cannot control that. So when we go to create groups, what we really hope to do is to dispense with the notion of perfection. It's very hard to admit that something isn't going well in our house, but there is freedom in doing that, and it leads to solutions. So that's what we're hoping to partner with you about to accomplish.
Thank you, Sue. I love hearing from Sue. We've had a number of conversations with her, and I always love hearing from her. I don't have teens. My children are much younger, but I just feel very comforted every time I talk to her. And Sue has created a wealth of content. There are articles, there are podcasts. And what we're going to ask you guys to do after this is we're going to connect you in with all of the Your Teen resources, because we want to partner with Sue, and we think that this is a potential answer to what we're hearing from our community of what you want. And Sue has it and is ready to partner with us to make sure that all of this amazing resources get out to the parents in our community. So I want to give you guys just a second to see if anybody has any questions to learn a little bit more about her, or about the work that she does, or about how we might be working together.
I'm just going to jump in. Sue, I'm Mindy Binderman. I'm Stephanie, your partner's cousin. And so I'm so glad that
Wait, where are you? I don't see. Let me see if
right
I can
here.
speaker view. Hold on.
I'm waving. But you can put it on speaker view, I think, and probably see me. But
Rich, it's
very glad, and I've been watching and reading and listening to your podcast since you guys started, and always learn something. So for those of you who haven't had time yet to look at the resources, they are fantastic, and highly recommend. There was a issue, I guess you would call it an issue, on COVID, kind of when the whole crisis started, that I still keep going back and referring to some of the advice there. So thank you.
Sure. And actually, we did 2 issues on parenting through COVID, and I can give, they're free. I can give you guys the links. And if you, who should I give it to? I'll send it afterwards.
You can send it to me, Sue.
Okay, will do.
So we are going to connect you after this with a bunch of resources that Sue has, as you hear, right? These are great resources. And really what we want you to do is play around with them. Look through them, right? There's no homework. We hope this is something that's meaningful to you. Look through the newsletter, look through the archives, because we want to hear from you about what really speaks to you, because we're trying to figure out how Sue has said we can share this content out, and we want to hear from you about what is meaningful, because there really is just such a wealth of materials there. Any questions for Sue? I'll stop talking.
While you're thinking, I'll tell you that if anybody read Maybe You Should Talk to Somebody, anybody read that? So we have a podcast coming out on Tuesday with her, and some of her advice is, it's so simple and so brilliant.
So we will make sure everybody has the link to be able to hear that. We'll make it really easy for you. We'll make sure you have it directly so that you can hear the amazing advice.
And I'll say, so Sue, I was so lucky to be connected with Sue and to start learning about what your team's putting out there. Sue interviews somebody, maybe more than one person, every single day and does a Facebook Live interview. So I highly recommend, as part of this, and what we're going to send you all of this, is to follow them on Facebook. In particular, your team puts out a lot of information about the college search. And so as a continuation of our virtual college road trip, we're going to be sharing some of those, sort of the ones that we find are really spectacular, every once a week for the next month or so, to be able to, because now is sort of the time when seniors are applying and juniors are figuring out where they're going to apply. And so I think that will be really helpful to the community.
Great.
This Thursday at 8 p.m. we're going to be talking to somebody about the essay, and it's 8 p.m. Eastern time on Facebook Live. Your teen, yeah, /your teen, facebook.com/your teen.
And then everything's replayed also. So if you can't make it to that.
Yeah,
it's always
they live there.
Yeah, they live there. Thank you, Sue.
Great. Thank you so much, Sue, for joining us. You can hang out, you can sign off if you want, but thank you so much for joining us. I really think, as we said, like, our goal here was just to introduce you to Sue, to hear her speak. And then the work is really going to come after this, where we can all dig into some of these resources and see what's out there. And then you can provide feedback for us. We'll follow up with you and hear about what resonates with you and how we can continue to, or how we can work to get these resources out to other parents. So thank you so much, Sue. I'm so excited for how this is going to continue.
Great, thanks.
Okay. So that was our first topic, was talking about parents and hearing from Sue. We're going to make in kind of the spirit of JumpSpark doing a lot of things, we're going to make kind of a hard turn from parents and supporting parents, which is a huge part of what we do. We're going to make a hard turn actually to teen Israel engagement. So this is another thing that JumpSpark is getting involved in. So I don't know if you have heard, but recently, in the past couple of weeks, there has been an announcement of a new initiative called Route One. If you have heard of Route One, you have any idea what I'm talking about, go ahead and raise your hand, just so I can see if people have heard about it. Okay, great, good. I'm glad people on my team are raising their hand. So let me tell you a little bit about what Route One is. So Route One is a new initiative that is going through the Jewish Education Project, which is in New York, seeded by a grant from the Marcus Foundation, which is local here in Atlanta, to dramatically increase Jewish teen travel to Israel in the high school years. So Route One is providing $3,000 travel vouchers for teens going to Israel. So if your teen is going to Israel in the summer of 2021 or after, they'll be eligible to receive a $3,000 travel voucher. They are also working beyond just supplementing trips to elevate the curricula of the trips, to create opportunities for deeper engagement. And Israel is such a powerful tool in our toolbox around Jewish identity building. I know I was a high school in Israel person. I didn't go on a summer trip, but I was a high school in Israel person, and it really did send me on a trajectory for my life. It's a very formative experience in my high school years. So here in Atlanta, we are connected to this because we have teens that go to Israel, but we are also going to be receiving some additional grant funding locally to really support Route One on a local level. And we are one of only 3 cities that was chosen, it's us, Houston, and Denver, to receive additional funding to really support Route One here on the ground. So in our work with Route One, we have 3 goals here in Atlanta: to increase the number of teens from Atlanta who travel to Israel, to develop an engagement pipeline that teens are headed on a trajectory to teen Israel travel that is a part of their Jewish journey, and that we are lengthening the arc of engagement. Often these summer trips are a few weeks, right, in the summer, and we want to make sure that that is not kind of one and done with teens engaging with the Jewish community, but there is experiences before that are educating and leading up to that Israel trip, and then opportunities for teens to stay engaged meaningfully in the Jewish community when they come back and into their college years. So
Can I ask
again,
a question?
yes,
So
I don't-
is it a planned trip, like a birthright itinerary, or how is this different from birthright? Or, I mean, I know birthright, you can be older than a teen, but
so this right now, Route One is working with 5 established partners, which are kind of your big players in the summer teen travel game. So it's BBYO, the URJ, now I have to say them all, Ramah, NCSY, and USY. So going through any of those 5 trip providers, you receive a voucher to go. So it is not a new trip. We are not launching a new trip. We are trying to help teens get onto existing trips, make sure that those trips are as good as they can be, and that the experiences surrounding those trips are as good as they can be. Did that answer your question? So
Can I ask a quick question?
yes, please.
Are you looking to do Young Judea as well or no?
So this is not coming from me. This is coming from Route One as they launch
Just
it.
as the sharer of information.
Is Young Judea, I don't know if where they fall in this. I would have to look into that on how they fall in this. But I'm sure they're involved in this somehow. I would be surprised if they weren't somehow involved in this, but I'm not 100% certain.
Okay.
So we have invited, again, to get me to stop talking, we've invited Bobby Harris to join us today on the call. He is the director of URJ Camp Coleman, which is a trip provider that is sending teens from our community to Israel through the URJ trip. So we invited Bobby here. I can tell you about Route One, but we invited Bobby here to talk a little bit about what this means for him in his role and what impact this is already having and what impact this work could be having here in Atlanta. So I'm going to pass it off to Bobby. Thank you so much for joining us. And Bobby, you can take it from here.
Okay. Well, great. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. I'm glad to be here. Let me just tell you a little bit about my history with, I think, why I'm such a big fan of Route One and what I think it has done for us at camp, and just my history there, and maybe some of my thoughts on this situation. So I have been the camp director at Camp Coleman for a really long time. I've lost track, but I think it's this is like my 30th summer. And around one of my first summers, the URJ made a decision that our 11th grade year was going to be a year in Israel. And we hadn't gotten enough kids to Israel, and there's a belief that to really be an educated Jewish person, an engaged Jewish person, to not have Israel in your wheelhouse and sort of some experience and some engagement with Israel, it's kind of like being an American and not studying the Civil War. To sort of not deal with Israel and have any connection or any kind of engagement to think about what Israel might mean and what Israel is in the world and what it is in Jewish history is kind of like not the way to go. So this was kind of our priority to get it in. We bring Israelis to camp and these kinds of things. So for many years, first of all, the first year we did that, people were not happy with me. The second year, I'm not sure people were that happy with me. But at the end of the day, we worked it up to get about 40, high 30s to high 40s annual trip membership participation from Coleman to Israel. That was usually out of about 100 to 125 people. So even in those years that we were riding high, and this was pre-birthright, we were getting a lot of people, but not really eclipsing the 50% mark. And one of the reasons for that is that at Camp Coleman, it costs a certain amount of money to go to camp. Sometimes people got financial aid, but to go to Israel was sometimes, almost 70% more than going to camp, and there wasn't as much financial aid available. So it actually started getting more and more pricey. And then when Birthright came along in 2001, people just started saying, okay, we're going to wait till Birthright. And we sort of fell off the ascendancy track there. And it really hurt our camp in many ways. We had 11th graders, you know, we don't have room for them at camp, so we couldn't really have a program for them at camp. And then they wouldn't go to Israel because they were oftentimes, for many different reasons, but one of the main reasons we started seeing was because of birthright, our way to birthright. And it sank down to a low a couple years ago. And I went to the Marcus Foundation and another foundation. This is about 2015, and I showed how I had done a survey of all of our 10th graders, and I said, if camp in Israel costs the same amount as it is to come to Coleman, would you come? And I saw that from the surveys that we had a high percentage of people that said yes. So I showed that to a couple foundations, and ultimately the big foundations did not invest in what I was asking, but I did get two other families to invest. And we were able over the last 2 years to offer $2,500 to the first 40 people who signed up for our trip. Last year, we ended up not going on the trip because of COVID, but within 1 hour, 40 people signed up. And I got a couple complaints from 6 families who signed up that evening and already did not make the cut. They were really unhappy. So there was a great demand for going to Israel, and it was money. We found out what the problem really was. It was money. And we started building this more demand. And that was spectacular. And then so we already built this into our culture, and we had a lot of people go in the first year, and we would have had even more people go in the second year. And now this third year comes out, and the Route 1 made it possible for both our 11th and 12th graders to go. And our 11th grade has the North American record right now. We have 70 kids, practically, 68 signed up right now. 20 of those are from Georgia, Atlanta area. And we have 37 signed up for the 12th grade program. So our camp, even counting the bigger camps in the Northeast and the West, our camp is sending more kids right now to Israel than any other URJ camp, mostly because of a disparity in the 11th grade. That is just an unreal number of 70, even when I'm likening back to the 40s and the 30s, we've doubled there. So there's a great demand because we've already had this in our culture, and we've already had people not get in. So the word is out, like if you don't act, you lose. And so what that has meant, so that's just the numbers, that's just like the statistical thing that I'm talking about right now, but not sort of the quality of what this kind of an experience has brought to our camp and has brought to these young people. And I just want to go over a couple of things about that. One thing I do want to say is that one of the big reasons why the Marcus Foundation pivoted from investing in solely birthright to the Route 1 is because of the experience that our young people have when they first go to college and they meet Israel on campus, whether they've gone to Israel or they've not gone to Israel. There's a lot of talk about Israel on campus. There's a lot of Israel bashing on campus. There are a lot of different academic circles that talk badly about Israel. It is a tough place to be, especially if you're not educated. And it's also going to come up, one thing I do like to say is that regardless if you're that engaged as a Jew or not, you are at some point going to be asked, if something comes up in the news, whether there's swastikas on a campus or a Jewish fraternity did something, or there's something Palestinian, the Palestinians are in Gaza, something happens to them and the human rights organizations are coming out. Somebody in your dorm, somebody in one of your classes is gonna ask you something. And it's just gonna happen to you. They're gonna kind of find out from somebody that your kid is Jewish, and they're gonna be there and they're gonna be in this situation kind of frozen like a deer in headlights a little bit, like, oh my God, I don't even know what they're talking about. Why are they asking me this? I can't speak on behalf of the Jewish people. I don't know. No, and it's not right for anybody to speak on behalf of the Jewish people, really. I mean, everybody has their own opinions. But, you know, we want, I know the foundations behind this, they really want our kids to be able to have some kind of an identity, some kind of a basis, how they can respond and be comfortable to some extent in that situation and think it through at least before they get in that situation. And we were seeing a whole load of this going on, and our kids being ill prepared to engage in these kinds of things, not know where they stand, and it just pushed them maybe even further away from wanting to identify rather than being prepared. So I think that that's a great reason to have. That's one of the reasons they're making it easier for high school kids to go, so they can have a little bit more knowledge as they enter a campus. Now, another really big thing in terms of, you know, just investing in this kind of a thing is we know that in terms of engagement, camp and Israel are the two biggest indicators in every study that show that there will be continued engagement into adulthood. The idea of camp and Israel going together is one of the reasons that our camp and camps in general, it's easier for us to get people to go than just somebody that's just not in a Jewish camp with all of their friends going, because then they have to do that with some other friends, maybe from BBYO. They can convince a couple of their friends from BBYO to go with them, or USY, or Young Judea, or whatever it is, Ramah. But it's the idea that they go through this together is kind of a rite of passage for our kids, and now we're making it more accessible with Route One. So it kind of combines that engagement even more so, and the idea of growing up with a certain group of kids, going across the world with a certain group of kids, and then coming back to camp after that makes the camp value proposition probably the most visible, the most tangible, the most you can kind of bite your teeth into. It's really obvious. And then the impact that it has had on us at camp over the years is the number of Israelis and Americans who are in relationship with each other for their lives. I mean, a lot of our kids, a sizable number of them have gone to study in Israel, have, you know, when they go into college because they feel comfortable there because of the Israelis that they met at camp, they usually will stay with them. When they visit Israel, they usually will go see them. It's something that is very normal and typical for a Coleman kid to have Israeli friends and to have people that they're in touch with, especially on the staff years. But it happens at the beginning. We're kind of setting a basis for that by having the Israelis come into camp. And the other, the thing that I also think about that is also like when kids come back from Israel, it is much more, if we plan reunion type events, either from camp or from the community, and bring in different cultural and political speakers, this is a ready audience. We started a group, kind of a chat group. We had a shlicha working with us for a long time that was sponsored to come here and working with our NIFTY region and camp. And she had a number of groups, like Zoom groups, talking about different current events in Israel. And, you know, they would get like 10 kids to join in with this over the span of a year consistently. And so there were like these talking groups and a lot of engagement about Israel, a lot of interest. So it carried over into the year. And just one final thing I'll just say that I love also, and this happened to me when I went to Israel, you know, way back when, is that, you know, I had this really curly, if you could believe it, like I had like a Jufro, I had like this big hair. And I didn't really see that many people around me that had hair like that. And I had sort of like a weird feeling about it. And when I went to Israel, I saw tons of people that had that. And what ended up happening was, like, I saw that Jewish people looked all different colors, had all different types of physical characteristics across the board. And I think so often in America, we forget that 10 to 20% of our Jewish community is made up of people of color that are not white Ashkenazic Jews. And it's so evident to see that when you enter the world in the land of Israel and meet the people. They represent a lot of Sephardim, a lot of people from North Africa, a lot of people from not only Eastern, Far Eastern Europe, like Turkish people, Kurdistan, South American. I mean, there's just people all over the world there. And that not seeing the Jew in one way and having one identical history, but many different histories that make up our people is really enhancing to the Jewish identity. It really opens up a whole new world, and the Jewish team will start to understand that it's a whole lot more than what they think it is, just being Jewish. So I think that's another powerful impact that a trip to Israel makes. So we're really excited about that. We believe that 70 kids going from our 11th grade year and coming will enhance and maximize our return rate for 12th grade to be in our CIT program. And we believe that that will carry over into them being on our staff and helping us to really fulfill our mission, which is to create caring, committed, and connected Jews for a lifetime. And so that's why we deeply believe and support and have been working for this for a long time. And I'm so happy to see the Route One take us to the next level. And I'm hopeful that we can do that throughout Atlanta, maybe get other camps to do this that aren't currently doing this, and really expand this kind of enterprise. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Bobby. I am so glad that Bobby was able to come and really speak from someone on the ground doing this work about both the importance of Teen Israel travel and also just already the increase in numbers that he's seeing because of Route One and really what that could mean nationwide. Route One's goal is to raise teen engagement, teen travel to Israel by 40%, which is a very lofty goal, but I think we're already seeing that that these vouchers, these $3,000 vouchers are having a big difference. So we just gave you guys a lot of information, right? We just brought you Sue, and we brought you Bobby, and we're bringing you all of this information. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna split this group into breakout groups. So you're gonna be sent to a much smaller group, and there's gonna be a JumpSpark person in your room, and we would love to just hear what were your responses? Did this bring up a new idea for you? Is there a question you have? Is there something that you're interested in? Do you have an idea? We just want to create a space because, as we said, hearing from all of you is incredibly important in these meetings, not just us talking at you. So we are going to we're going to be in breakout rooms for about 10 minutes. And then we will come back, share whatever comes out of those conversations, and then we will have some next steps and final thoughts. Yes, everybody who's here is welcome to stay and be in a breakout group. So Annie, go ahead now and send us out.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hey, Suzanne, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hi, Sandrine. How are you? I should see
Good,
you,
and you?
not just here, right?
Sorry?
I should see you not only on this screen. I miss seeing you.
Yeah, I'm missing you too.
I know. Where's our whole group here?
But I don't walk, so I hear that's the way to
That's how you can see me?
catch you, yeah.
Yeah. I've seen Jason a couple of times.
Yeah, he said in the morning.
I know. Well, this might be our group here. So thanks everyone for being on. Really, there was a lot of information between the speakers. And does anyone have any questions or thoughts or teens interested? Do you have a teenager that might be interested in going to Israel this summer? Or any information about the programming that we're trying to do for parents that we're rolling out? Or just about JumpSpark in general?
Oh, I have a question.
Hi, Stacy.
Hey, the Route 1, is anyone eligible for it, or does it have to be your first time?
No, it doesn't have to be your first time. As long as you're going on one of the predetermined trips that Route 1 is funding, you're eligible. You know, as long as it's one of those listed programs.
Okay.
Right, but it doesn't, you could have gone with your school, you could have gone with your family, you know, you could have gone on a different teen program, so.
And are there a certain amount of vouchers available, or?
There are, but I don't think that will be a problem. I think they're plentiful. And I don't think, although programs, I mean, I have a teenager who's going, and she's going with Ramah, and I got an email that said, reserve your spot now before vouchers run out. But I really think that's just a marketing thing. And I think there's plenty of vouchers.
Well, I mean, $3,000 is very generous.
Right. And really the goal is that they want to send everyone that wants to go. So I don't think the number, and it was a very generous number, however many vouchers Atlanta got was more than however many teens went to Israel. Well, not this past summer because of COVID, but the summer before.
Is it prorated at all? So like, I know some programs are 6 weeks long, some programs are 3 weeks long. So like, if you're going on a 3 week versus a 6 week, is it only $1,500, or is it actually really the whole?
No, it's $3,000. So, you know, like if you're interested in BBYO, really you should go to BBYO's website, and I'm sure all the information is there. And again, like for Ramah, what they've done is they've built in all the travel, like the where they used to charge separately, let's say for your flight, they just have kind of included that all in the sum, the total sum, but they list that, you know, this Route 1 voucher is covering your plane flight and a couple of other things.
That's great.
That's amazing. I don't know if I missed this. I apologize if I missed this, but where did the funding come from? Like who?
The Marcus Foundation, Okay. Yeah. Which is why Atlanta was kind of one of the key cities. Yeah, so we're really lucky. And really the goal is to get more kids to go. I mean, that's really the bottom line goal of the program. That cost shouldn't, you know, hopefully shouldn't be a factor.
So it sounds like he mentioned 11th and 12th grade. Are those the primary grades that are looking at going on the Route 1 trip, or is it open to other grade levels?
I think it's all high school. I think all high school students. I'd have to go back to the Route 1 website, but I'm pretty sure it's any high school age student.
Because I think usually with the camp, you go a certain year, maybe like senior or.
Right, the year
Like Coleman offers it after 11th grade or something, is when they say, we want you to go do summer in Israel for your after 11th grade camp. So I think that's why he was focusing on that.
Right.
Because you could even go after 12th grade, right? Like it's as long they're teenagers. So like they could go to their freshman year in college, come back and do something. Or I don't even know
by then
allow you to go that old, do they, or no?
Well, by then you're eligible for birthright. So I think you'd go on birthright at
and
that
then this
point.
wouldn't apply. Okay.
Correct. But you'd fall under one category or the other.
Yeah. My older daughter did HSI, High School in Israel, 2 summers ago and loved it. My younger daughter will not give up a summer at Camp Barney. So I'd love to take advantage of it, but I know she'll go on birthright as well, but yeah.
That'd be great if it applied to, you know, going to high school there.
Right. I mean, right now the focus is on summer programs. High School in Israel is not one of the programs. You know, we didn't create that. We didn't say who could and couldn't. That was really done more by the Marcus Foundation in conjunction with the actual programs. And you don't receive a $3,000 voucher. It's just your program is going to be discounted by that much. You know, whatever the sum of the program is, they're going to take that much off.
That's great. I have heard lots of rumblings of people who, like friends' kids and stuff, who are saying their kids might be doing it this summer. It's a great opportunity.
It really is, yeah. And especially, you know, probably a ton of kids who didn't get to go last summer, who had plans to go. So the timing is wonderful as well.
Yep, absolutely.
How much is Rama, if I may ask? You know, just to have an idea of what the 3,000, how much does it cover of, what is it, like 10,000?
Yes, the Ramah program, but again, I think it's different because of, excuse me, because of this past summer and the kids didn't get to go to camp. So they're basically charging what the price of camp was last year, which is about $9,000-ish.
For 2 months?
For 8 weeks, for 8 weeks. So they're basically saying that's the price now for 6 weeks in Israel, and includes your plane flight and also I think like some ground transportation, you know, that's, but all the trips cost so different. I mean, they really are different because, right, some of the BBYO programs are just 3 weeks long. You know?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
It really is. I wish there was something like that for adults. I'd love my husband to go. Yeah.
Well, maybe that'll be next. They got college kids, now they're high school. Maybe next will be some funding for the rest of us.
Exactly.
That would be really
great. You know, there's a birthright trip for mom. Is there not one for that too?
Yeah, there is. Like through, right?
Are you talking about that program, Sandrine?
I forget the name, but we call it like the birthright for mom. You know, you're eligible, I think, as long as you have a teen actually, and a
mom. It's like a mom's trip. Yes, yes.
So I don't know if they have a dad equivalent.
They do. It's not as subsidized, and it's but they do.
And it's not for couples. Like it's not, you couldn't go together. But maybe that's coming soon. I don't know.
Do you think this will just be this coming summer, or do you think it's going to be, is Marcus committed?
He hasn't committed to further, but I would imagine that it will be an option going forward because it really came about as a result of the Birthright program and some kids or parents saying, hey, I'm not going to send my kid when they're 17. I'm going to wait because when they're 20, they can go on the Birthright program, they can go for free. So I'm just going to wait a couple of years. So I think, and I think depending upon its success, but I think that it will probably be more than just this year.
Right. I think he had such a good point about, you know, sending your kids off to college and having the tools and the knowledge to be able to respond to people, you know, with differing opinions and not necessarily favorable towards Jewish people and things like that. And I remember 1,000 years ago having similar experiences like that, and not really knowing how to give the right answers. So.
Right, and
it's a very good point. Versus,
right.
Yeah.
If you've had the chance to be there and kind of experience it, you come away with more knowledge and information to be able to speak up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're about to close these breakout rooms, but thank you all. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we'll go back for a few minutes and then we'll be finished.
I know it's so hard to jump off mute and just come in there. Okay, so let me tell you, hopefully there was a JumpSpark person in each of your rooms, so we were tracking those conversations so we can talk about what came up in those conversations and think about it and figure out what our next steps are. Let me tell you what our next steps are from this meeting. So one, we're going to connect you, as we've said, with your teen resources. We're going to send you out a couple different things. Sue mentioned some events. We're going to make sure you have access to that. And we really want you to dig in. There was a question in my group, so how are we going to do this? How are we going to get people to know about this? And I think that's really a question, right? We have found this amazing resource. And we want to hear from you about how are you using it and what is meaningful to you, because we really need to figure out, now that we have a resource, we really want to figure out how to connect it to our audience. And you guys are our audience, and we want to hear from you about what you're thinking about this resource and about if it is something you would use and how you could use it. So we'll be following up and having those conversations. I also want to share that we are launching a Shevet group in January. Shevet is a program for Jewish teen boys. It is really, we see this is a program through Moving Traditions, which is one of Jump Spark's partners nationally. And we are really looking and have been trying for a number of years to get a parallel program to the Strong Women's Fellowship up off the ground. And Shevet is really our answer to that. So if you have a teenage boy in your life or know of one, we would love to hear about them, because we're going to be putting that group together, because teenage boys need space to come together and have community and bond right now as much as everybody. So we're going to be working on that. And it's also going to be a place to grow leadership skills and resume building. So if you know anybody who might be a good candidate, please let us know. We are also launching this month Strong Girls, which is our new 8th grade program, which is a feeder for our Strong Women's Fellowship. We have 11 8th grade girls signed up for this year, but we will still take a couple more if you know about some amazing 8th grade girls out in the community. Again, this is coming together around issues facing girls today in the Jewish community, helping to build community for them, and also in this program for their parents. So that program will be launching in October, and we're very excited that we have 11 girls signed up. We were going to run it with 5, but we far exceeded our expectations, which is always a good thing. And and Annie just put the link in the chat. The other thing is Route One. So we gave you a lot of information. We heard from Bobby about kind of the impact that this is having, and now the question is, so what are we going to do about this? I would say step 1 is to know about it, right? Just to let you know if you didn't know about what this is. And maybe we heard from someone in my group that they're considering a Teen Israel travel experience for their teen because of Route One, because it's opening up that possibility. So knowing about it, talking about it, sharing about it, that's an amazing thing that you can do as a part of this group, because you got access to some information and hearing from a community partner that everybody doesn't have access to. And we are working with Route One right now. As I said, we are one of the 3 cities that's receiving additional grant funding. So we are working with them right now to figure out exactly what that's going to mean. And we will make sure to loop you all back into what those efforts are as they come together. If you have any questions or ideas about Route One recruitment, Teen Israel experiences, again, please reach out. Amy is going to be following up with all of you. Maybe not immediately, but in the next couple days, weeks, to hear from all of you, check in with all of you. So that was something else I wanted to put out there. Anybody? We have about 2 minutes. Does anybody have anything? My team, people on the call, anybody have anything they want to say in this space? Okay. I want to thank you guys all so much for being here with us today. I hope you found this interesting to learn a little bit about what's going on in the community, interesting to hear from some of our partners that we're working with to make an impact. And we will be following up with resources and conversations as we go from here, because as we said, hearing from you and your feedback with teens and parents in the community is invaluable to us. So thank you again for sharing your time with us today and sharing your teens with us. And we will talk to you again soon. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.